What is up, guys? Technical Stinkers here, checking in on our little 3D print operation for today. If you're unfamiliar or new to the channel, welcome. I own a business that has nothing to do with 3D printing, but I got interested in the process, and I'm starting it here at home, seeing if I can learn about 3D printers, print some products, sell the products, and make more money, and just make money. I mean, that's the end goal here. I do giveaways, I do a lot of different things. It's just kind of an exhibition sort of thing, not instructional, so just follow along in the process. Maybe you can learn something from my mistakes, give me some tips and tricks to help me along in my goals. So what am I working on today? Well, if you've been following the channel, I've been doing, again, this skull thing and trying to figure out something to do on the Orange Storm Giga. Lots of different things coming around, so let's see what's on the plates. All right, so where do we want to start? Let's go here to the Sobol. Looks like I need to take a trip to the ocean here soon. So up here on the Sobol's been not been getting a lot of love, but I needed a rapid prototype, and the Sobol is really great for that because it is fast. So this live plate pull, have not looked at it. Did it fail? Did it not fail? It did fail. Yeah, I already see that right here. So again, when doing these ultra large, super jumbo prints, I do like to do a prototype concept first to kind of see if there's any areas of weakness or, that need extra support or gonna have, problems with, if the model's even viable, how to rotate it and place it on the plate and whatnot. And so I've been into this skull thing lately, and I've got some slate chips coming in that I'm gonna use my laser engraver on to kind of make a little placard to go with it. And so I was like, I need some more skulls. And so I was looking around, I bought this big combo pack of skulls, and then I went looking around on Etsy, because people sell 3D printed skulls on Etsy. I went looking around for skulls that aren't too common, because things like T-Rex skulls, dog, cat, bird, crocodile, things like that, very common. I was looking for something a little different and something I could potentially put on the Giga that is large, because most people don't have an Orange Storm Giga and they can't print large. And so if I can print large, it gives me an advantage, and hopefully I can make better sales. So that was the spirit of this test, and this is skirt. All right, so be sure to never print. What's the purpose of skirt? Let me know in the comments below. Is there a functional purpose to the skirt other than to just outline where it's going to be? This is it's a very, very small version of it, a hippopotamus skull. So I did it in the 2 parts. It has a merged version, but I thought maybe I should do it in 2 parts just to kind of mitigate some of the risk of printing it all in one go in case I do get a failure. So this is the top section here. This is where we had the failure, right here on the front tusk. So it looks like it's going to need some added support here for this front tusk. Overall, the rest of it looks pretty good. We'll take that in the office and look at it. It's just a lot of supports. It's basically on a raft at this point. Now I thought about printing it like this because that's more like flat surface area, but I don't like the idea of having supports on where people will see the model the most, because if this is being presented, people look at it, they're gonna see that marring on the top. So prefer not to do that, but we'll take that in the office and look at it. What do we have next? All right, so over here on the P1P, I just kind of completely forgot about my plan to do a little maintenance on it. I just kind of went ahead with a print that I've been meaning to do. So it's a pretty good ways through, about 25% the way through. Had a couple spools run out last night, but this is a character model. I don't know if I'll probably list it, yeah, to be fair, but this is the custom model that the character model designer made for me. It wasn't exactly what I was thinking, but it's still a cool model. And I know a lot of people don't really like the character models. I'm still gonna do them, and I'll feature them, obviously. But it's like, I'm kind of in another mode right now with, the skulls and some of the more, broader appeal type products. So I'm gonna continue to operate my degen prints area. So they're like sexy models. But this is the one she made for me. I call her Stinkerette. She's a skunk because, technical stinkers, skunk, stinkers, sexy, character model thing, kind of all coalesced into one. But she had asked if I was done printing it yet. And so she took the time to design this. I wanted to make sure I printed an example for her to use on, her store, her Cults 3D, or, in her marketing material, whatever. Just to kind of, she went through the trouble of it. I should at least go through the trouble of printing it. A good example. So we'll see how it comes out. The paint job on it looked pretty good in Bambu Studio anyway. All right, What is this? What is that? All right, and so if you recall, our Charmander model didn't work out. Cut bait on that, not gonna try to sell it online. Might come back to it in the future to try to do a, like a large example to sell in one of my retail stores. But I just kind of cut bait on it, and I was like, I really need to keep the Giga moving, like, because it takes so long for these prints. And so I went on this designer's available prints because I subscribed to his service to get this model because it's multi-part, and I really do like exploring that. So I was just looking around for something else that was, you know, not licensed and simple to print, because I have that big order from Ujoy Bio due, would be tomorrow. So I want to make sure the Giga is pretty much free to start that print. And he had some vases on there, and people have suggested that in the past, that I do like just really simple, big, modern, quirky, fun vases. And you know, I don't know that this vase is obviously not gonna hold water or anything like that, but this over here is kind of this organic looking, you know, funky, weird shaped floor vase. I'm printing it really as big as it'll go. It's about 30, I think like 34 high, not quite 36 high. I think I stopped it at 950 millimeters. So that's about as tall as the Giga can print. No supports and no infill, just 2 wall loops. So very sparse. I think the total filament consumed is gonna be like 2,500, maybe closer to 3,000 grams. My thinking with it is like, I'm not an interior decorator. I don't, you know, if it were up to me, I'd live in a steel building. But you know, people like to decorate their houses, and so I think it'll be good for one of those vases that people put like, you know, big pieces of grass in, or like pampas grass fronds or peacock feathers, things like that, just in the corner. And I'm thinking when I go to ship it, I'll ship it with like a bag of decorative rocks to kind of weigh it down on the base. Now I know people come in and they're like, well, you can stop the print and fill it up with sand or Play-Doh or all these other things to add weight to the print. Again, that I count that as like not post-production, but that's like, you know, mid-production where I have to stop and do something. I'd rather just stamp this off and like give them a bag of rocks and be like, okay, put the rocks in the bottom and you're good. So that's what I'm working on now, and it actually, I'm surprised it's coming out pretty good. I was kind of worried about the overhangs, but they seem okay. Now they are a little squirrely in some areas, but I think that's just you clip it off and heat gun it down, because overall, it's not looking too bad, and it's a pretty cool vibe, especially in the orange too. I decided to go with the orange because you don't see that very often, and I already had it loaded. So there you go. That's the rationale behind that. All right, so let's grab our skull prototype here, take it in the office, and see what else I got going on. All right, and so, all right, that's not gonna work. All right, this is not gonna work. Pause. I'm wondering how loud this thing's gonna be, even when it's paused. I mean, it's still kind of a whir. We're gonna have to deal with that until I can find a place for this thing. I kind of like it in here, to be honest. Obviously, that's my FLSun T1 Pro. You saw it unboxed in yesterday's video. Been doing some more tests with it, kind of figuring it out. You know, TikToked about it and tweeted about it. This thing is so fast. It's, you know, I see TikToks and YouTube videos about people that, you know, really know about 3D printers. Like tuning up their printers to run super fast. This thing, out of the box, does a benchy in 10 minutes, just flat. And this is regular PLA, not high-speed PLA, nothing special about it. This is some of that offensively ugly green Sunlu PLA that I got. I just threw it in there and was like, yeet, let's go for it. And this thing is, you know, it's bouncing around. The speed varies. You know, it'll drop down to like 100 something, and then it'll ramp up to 1,000. You know, so when printing that PLA at high speed, it really takes all the sheen out of it. But this is just like the standard benchy that was loaded onto the machine. There's no modifications to this. And so, you know, it's forgivable in my opinion. Some of the areas, you know, are a little, like the overhangs here I noticed were a little goopy, like when the bridgings. It's got kind of the benchy hull line, maybe a little tiny, it's like surface finish. Again, I'm looking at 1,000 millimeters per second with standard PLA. They didn't give me any money for this, and again, I know I harp on it over and over again. Like, you know, I'm not gonna change, guys. They didn't give me any money for this. They gave me the printer and I do daily vlogs. So it's like if something crops up with the printer, something goes wrong, you'll see it. I can't hide it. So if there's any concern about it, just know that going in. But obviously I got to give credit where credit's due. Out of the box, this thing is so fast, it's unbelievable. So right now I'm printing one of the crypto mining shrouds, one of my best-selling product. Typically on a Cobra 2 Max, that one of those would take 3 hours and 45 minutes. On a Bambu, it would take 2 hours and 15 minutes. This takes 1 hour for the same thing, same infill, same settings across the board and everything like that. So in terms of like prototyping, if I just wanted to, like, say for that hippopotamus skull, get kind of a working example or a functional print or something like that, and like I really need it now to keep working and keep designing all day long. Again, also exotic materials, the ABS, the nylon, carbon fiber stuff, depending on the nozzles and whatnot. That's my horse. So really excited to keep using that. It's just loud though. I mean, to be fair, it is very loud. And me personally, I know a lot of people have issues with loud machines, but like coming from the crypto mining side, I live in a house with 7 animals and a Puerto Rican wife. I'm no stranger to loud noises. So the noise doesn't bother me as much, but if I'm trying to do videos or someone else around doesn't like the loud noises, it can be a concern. So just know that going in. And my understanding is the T1 Pro is actually quieter than the T1. Is that accurate? If that's the case, then damn, that T1 must be really loud. So really excited to keep working with that. Gonna continue working with that. 10-minute benchy out of the box, amazing. The other thing too is we got our hideaway listed on Etsy yesterday. Now, it needs better pictures, 100%. So I installed the example one in my building on a test wall. I think what I need to do is actually install this in my house in a good spot to where I can take some better pictures. It's just like, where do I put it so I can take good pictures? Just to get like a better sort of marketing vibe to it. But nonetheless, I did get it on the Etsy. I just want to make sure I convey in the thumbnail what it is, because right now it's a kind of, the thumbnail sucks. It's like, it shows a picture of it and then an arrow that says, and it's open and there's like a water gun inside to like convey to people like, hey, put things in this thing to hide it. Haven't checked the stats yet. It's only been up for about probably 18 hours or so. So I'll be checking that periodically and then hopefully upgrading it, because I want to find a good spot in my house to take pictures of some of these skull models to make them look a little more refined. I have a nice house, but like some of the areas, like I don't have furniture and stuff, we basically don't have furniture. So I gotta find some furniture that works and put it in there and, take a picture of it and go from there. Another area of excitement is I did get in my is it a Biqu plate? Cryogrip. Well, I've been saying Biqu. Oh, it's got the BQ on it. I should have saved the packing slip. So this is a plate that someone suggested in comments. I forget which comment said it, and I'm not about to go searching through my comments looking for it, but apparently these plates work really good, and also they're double-sided, which is great. So very excited to put this on the P1P. As soon as Stinker Red is done, I'm gonna go through, lube the rails, do the general maintenance on the P1P, and then we'll start using this plate because it's kind of a, it seems like the same sort of finish. And then also I was talking about Mountain Maker. He got those super tack plates from Bambu, which I believe is kind of in the same vibe as this, just to make sure I have no problems with bed adhesion or release. And again, it's so funny when I talk about bed adhesion, because that first video with bed adhesion issues on the Giga came out yesterday. And again, I'm like 5-6 days ahead. People are like, oh, you got to get this, you got to get that. And then an equal number of people come in to say, you don't need anything ever. I've never used anything at all. So it's like, this reminds me a lot of when I was having support setting issues back with the character models in the early days of the vlog. Some people coming in like, your top Z distance needs to be X. No, it needs to be Y. No, it needs to be the opposite of X and Y. It's just an equal amount on both sides of do this versus do that, and I'm caught in the middle as a dum-dum who knows virtually nothing about 3D printing. And so for many of these things, it's not like I'm ignoring the suggestions or kind of running counter to it or favoring certain things over others. it's just like what I just kind of got to pick one and try it and throw a dart, you know, and just whoo, and hope for the best. So I just got to try it out myself. So, you know, for a lot of people, I think maybe, you know, if you're watching this content, you are in a similar boat. Maybe you've seen a lot of conflicting information. So you can just watch my content and see what works, like live. And so maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. You know, every filament's different, every printer's different, every environment's different. There's so many variables. So I think that they all kind of come together, and it just depends on the situation entirely, and it could probably change over time as well. All right, and so the next thing, and don't worry about for future content, I'm not gonna have that thing running. You may remember I was talking yesterday about doing a custom project, a Spider-Man for my niece, kind of a personal thing, but it's a good test for the Giga for like some of those big signage projects that I hope to get into. So I did the multi-part Spider-Man, so you print one color. I had it separated. A guy on Fiverr did it in 5 minutes for $5. He took the model and separated it, and I probably could have done it myself because later on I noticed in the slicer that I believe the colors were separated, but you know, for $5 he did it while I went and, you know, snoofered around, so it doesn't really matter. But took the white part, this is the black part here, and I just extruded it up to make the eyes kind of be like the reference point throughout the model. And so I printed these separately, and then when you click it in, it becomes like a Spider-Man thing. And then you take the blue parts here, like his knee, and then you fit it, you know, you fit it in appropriately. And so everything was looking good until I got to the red section, which you could probably surmise at this point are not connected. They're all individual little pieces. And I'm like, okay, well, if I print them and then I take this black part and then I set it on the plate and lock it in and just pray they don't fall out. And then at that point I was like, you know what, that's not gonna work. I need a better solution. So my goal with this eventually is to have all of it together, but at variable heights, so I can put stops in the G code on the Giga, because I want to print this thing, you know, 30 wide or so, or as big as I can in on the Giga, because I'm probably not gonna be able to sell this online, but you know, eventually I want to use the same process for, you know, sports signage or, you know, custom signage or things like that. But what I aim to do is have every layer be a different color, so I can paint by layer. So, you know, probably start with, say, the black layer, and then just have, you know, an entire layer of blue, or go the other direction and have it just like this leg, this section here is a blue piece that fits in, a blue piece here that fits in, and then the rest of it is red that just locks in and makes one complete layer similar to the white, and then just lay the black on top and then glue it all together in that direction. But that's more of like, you know, kind of figuring out the design and how to layer it correctly. Because, you know, I have to do it in that layered sort of way, like, you know, people do stenciled spray paint with different stencils. It's basically, what is it, screen printing. It's the same exact concept, I think, behind screen printing, but just with physical plastic that's printed out. So gonna continue kind of like brainstorming on this. If you know anything about that or how to go about doing that, let me know in the comments below, kind of send me in the right direction there, because I think there's a lot of promise and potential, but I do want to have like a working concept and theory behind it before I go and start trying to print a big one. All right, and finally our the hippopotamus skull, the rhinoceros. I should have a rhinoceros and a hippopotamus. Anybody else? Fly the Concords, anybody? So the jaw section, the lower jaw section, is actually in 2 pieces, and no me gusta on that, because I'm gonna have to be sure I line up correctly, and I worry about it cambering one way or another, or tilting or moving around. I should do this on camera so people get the satisfaction of support removal. Now I understand that printing on the Soval is going to give me a lot different support connections than something like the Giga or a Bambu or a Ko or that thing. So, you know, I get that, but really it's more about isolating where the problem areas could be, because I don't want, you know, any sort of issues cropping up, especially on the Giga, because it's just so much filament. You know, and these are popping off pretty good. I'm wondering if it's worth doing a test print of the top section of the skull upside down, just to avoid all this madness down here. Because like I was saying, this is basically printing on a raft. There's like 2 1, 2, 3, 4 teeny tiny points of contact on here. And I really, prefer not to have that because I'd really like the teeth to just kind of come up and be on their own without any marring on them. Teeth are kind of a focal point, I think, when people look at these types of models. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that, although the supports are coming off pretty good, especially for the Soval, because the Soval runs kind of dirty and quick. Soval is kind of like Ferrari. It just, just kind of it's there to get the job done, to go fast, and it's just kind of rough. Not even gonna be able to pop these off to test fit the jaw section, but my assumption, I'm gonna ask you that it goes in something like this. So here, that's impressive. And really, I think because of the tusks, the fangs, you don't commonly see hippopotamus skulls. Now, it's unlikely I'll be able to print this life size unless I figure some crazy thing out. If a designer out there wants to take a stab at making this multi-part, the shipping cost is going to be like $1,000 on it, but maybe someone wants it. So I think I'm going to do another prototype print face down on this, and maybe just go ahead and print it all in one. The problem then becomes the space between here and the bottom section. There's like a gap because it's a skull, and so it's going to print in one go. And then there'll be supports in the middle, and I've got to somehow get in there and get those supports out, and that's post-production, and we are allergic to post-production here, so want to think about that. Maybe it's worth just trying it both ways, because it's not a lot of film, and I think this was less than like 150 grams all in to do this concept print, but I think I do want to go this direction of this hippopotamus skull, because I think that's just kind of quirky and fun and different. So I'd love to know what you're working on, what you think about everything else I got going on in the comments below. How about that thing, huh? It's kind of scary. I'm kind of scared of it, to be honest with you. It vibrates the whole house. I caught my wife sitting on top of it. Anyway, let me know what you want to see in the comments below. Be sure to like the video because it's a nice thing to do, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm the Technicals. See you next time.